Okay, I am in Kathmandu, Nepal. I'm at the Yakinyeti Hotel. We're about ready to do our orientation briefing, and I'm going to do a presentation for you that we did for our Zoom live conference yesterday from Kathmandu. So I'm going to share my screen. Okay, so here we are. We're in trek to Mount Everest Base Camp. That's what I'm talking about. And over the last couple of days, I have just arrived to look at some projects. I flew from Salt Lake City to Amsterdam. I connected on to Dubai and then on into Kathmandu. It is a long flight and some connections with layovers, but traveling comfortably is important. And for me, always really exciting to come to Kathmandu in Nepal. The visa process is quite easy. You use one of these kiosks and fill out the form on there with your flight information and personal information a little bit, your passport number. You then go over to the visa payment counter and you pay $50. You buy a 30-day visa. And then from there, you go over to the customs area and they stamp your passport and you go down to the baggage claim, you collect your bags, and shortly after that you are walking out into Kathmandu. We're waiting for you at the airport. We have our logoed sign. It's about a 15-minute drive to the Yakinyeti Hotel where we base out of. And we're really close to Tamel, the shopping area, and the an area that people like to go look around in. Rooms are really comfortable. It's a beautiful hotel and it's got a historic past. This hotel was used for many, many expeditions and still is. On this back lawn here, the 1963 American Everest expedition laid out all its gear, and then soon after they trekked to from Kathmandu all the way up. We fly in now to start our trip, but Nepal is amazing, and part of the reason is the Himalayas. Obviously, 8 of the world's 10 highest peaks are in Nepal, and there's 250 peaks that are over 6,000 meters, so over 20,000 feet. And it's just a great place to do some trekking and see Mount Everest, the highest point on Earth, but also you see Ama Dablam and Nuptse and Cho Oyu and Pumori and so many other fantastic mountains. This photo is kind of showing the continental plate of the India landmass pushing under the Himalayas. These mountains are still growing. The history of Nepal is interesting in the fact that the borders were closed until 1950. And the early expeditions trying to climb Mount Everest did it from the north side, coming from the China side. Then in 1950, they opened the borders. They sent a reconnaissance mission up in 51. In 1952, the Swiss got really close to summiting. They made it up to that, what is now called the Hillary Step, got turned back on the summit ridge. And then in 1953, the center of this photo, bottom, is Ed Hillary and Tenzing Norgay Sherpa that were the first to summit Mount Everest in 1953, actually May 30th, 1953. And ironically enough, I summited Mount Everest on May 30th myself in 2005. I've also had a lot of opportunity to climb other mountains like Ama Dablam, Cho Oyu, Island Peak, Lobache, and mountains that we pass along our trek to Everest Base Camp. So it's got a long history. I've been coming here for over half of my life, and that's really, really exciting. It's always nice to go back to a place you love. I started worldwide trekking 16 years ago, and our first trip was the trek to Mount Everest Base Camp in May. So this is our May season, and 16 years ago, my first trip for worldwide trekking was in the Himalayas here at the trek to Mount Everest Base Camp. A big part of what I do and why I started my business was, as I traveled and guided, I saw that there was a need to give back to the communities that hosted us overseas, whether it was here in Nepal or Tanzania, Africa, or down in Peru. And we even have programs in Utah, the US. Started the Human Outreach Project, our nonprofit. So that has been a really rewarding part of my life and a really rewarding part of the experience that our guests get to share when they're on one of our trips. And I came in this time 4 days early and made my way up to check on all of our projects. So 4 days ago, I came in. The following morning, I chartered a helicopter because I needed to get up to some of the remote regions. The areas that we do a lot of our service work are not on the Trek to Everest Base Camp. Actually, the Lukla landing strip where we start our trek, where we fly into, it's 3 days below that if you were walking, 2 or 3 days, depending on how fast you go. So I flew in from Kathmandu over the heavy forest in the foothills of the Mount Everest region, and then arrived in Juving, Nepal. And we also, another close village there is Caracola, Nepal. And these are areas that are big villages where there are a number of our Sherpa teams of different ethnic groups that work trekking and on the mountain on Mount Everest. So it was a really good connection a few years ago to make this connection and start to do work. Got dropped off in the helicopter, and this village of Juving is just like a step back in time. It's absolutely amazing. The community there has no internet, no wireless internet, no cell phone service, and a really incredible little school that we have supported for years. Years ago, we put in solar power here. We brought in computers and the Rachel World Possible Learning System, and we're able to start our efforts with the school. We then hired teachers that could teach at a higher level at the school, educated teachers to teach the children, and we take the expense of all of the tuition for all of the kids that attend that school. So when I flew in the other day, we brought a couple things you can see there. We brought a printer and an inverter that they needed. We had talked to them before we arrived. And my goal here is to visit and be able to see how they're doing, see what they need for the future, and we did that. The kids here are giving kata scarves. The kata scarves, a very customary way of welcoming someone or saying goodbye, and these would take the place of flowers, which in the higher elevations don't grow so well. So the kata scarf is very usual thing that we do. We then had a big assembly where they do it very formally, a number of speeches, a number of the students did their customary folk dances, which was just so cool to see that they wear their traditional clothes, that they do the folk dancing still, and we're so warm and welcoming. It was just an incredible experience. Once again, it always is. And we look forward to hiring an additional teacher this year. So they'll have 4 teachers. They could really use a teacher that teaches mathematics. So we'll hire that 4th teacher. We'll cover the expense of the school tuition for all of the children. There's about 300 kids in this school. And then we checked the computers. They're still working. Some of the keyboards are, it's been a number of years. Some of the keyboards are having to use a remote keyboard, that kind of thing. But the Rachel World Possible Learning System is working very well. Here's for the teachers. And when we go back in October, our trip's coming up, it's May now, going back in October, we will bring over more computer laptops for them. I'd like to shoot for 10 more laptops, 2 projectors, so the teacher can project the computer screen onto, so all the students can see it. And 2 projectors, and another Rachel World Possible Learning System, which is an incredible system. They have all kinds of lesson plans from, say, kindergarten through the university level. So these teachers can access all of that information for science and mathematics and health and hygiene and everything else. And it's really a great way to get them a really great learning system. So soon after we finished in Juving, I loaded in the back of this tractor in a trailer, and we made our way. We hiked a bit. We got in this. We made our way up to the Caracola Monastery that you see here. The Caracola Monastery is a place that we also have supported with laptop computers and solar panels. You can see a black solar panel on the roof of the monastery as it flies over. We support this monastery because it's a school for young monks. So the monks that are there are coming in as young as, say, 6 or 7 years old, and they're educated and learning to become lamas, which is a big part of the Buddhist culture here in these communities that we're supporting. So really great pre-trip visit there. And then we got ready for the group. The group started to arrive yesterday, and I want to thank my local team here in Nepal. Giljan Sherpa and I have worked together since that very first trip 16 years ago, and before that, he's helped me with every effort, whether it was climbing one of the mountains here, or bringing a group to Everest Base Camp, or Annapurna, or any of the things we've done. But he's also been in significant help to the Human Outreach Project. None of these programs I could do without my local operations manager. Giljan runs our division of worldwide trekking Nepal, and that's licensed and registered in Kathmandu, and as well Human Outreach Project Nepal. So our team, always in uniform, always well trained and professional, but also for me, a huge thank you goes out to these guys. So when we come to Nepal, and I want to talk about the Everest Base Camp trek today, what's the best time of year? For trekking or climbing over here, if you want to see views like the one in this photo, when you get up there, this is taken from Kalapatar. You can see the base camp area down here at the bottom, the ice fall that you have to pass through to get into the Western Coombe, the highest valley in the world. And then up here, you have the South Col at 26,000 feet, and the ridge line that you climb to the south summit, across the Hillary Step to the top of the world. If you want clear views like this, you need to be coming pre-monsoon or post-monsoon. So in the summer months, June, July, August, September, it's going to be raining a lot. In September, it breaks, and we start coming in April and May. A lot of times in May, when the weather is really nice. Right now, May 1st, we started our trip, and again September, October into November, to get those clear views again in the fall. So we were wanting to avoid the Asian summer monsoon. So you really can't push it, because along with that, if people are off in the summer, June or July, they really just have the time to go and they want to try to go, then the chances of being able to fly into Lukla in a plane are very slim. It's going to be raining mostly, and just not an ideal to come. When we do start our trip, just like I'm going to be doing here in about a half hour for our group, we'll do an orientation briefing, go over all of the details of the trip. Last night, we assembled as a group and had our welcome dinner at a restaurant close by. Everybody did a walking tour yesterday afternoon, and then had dinner last night. We didn't really go over many details. I don't like to jump right into telling a bunch of information at the first dinner. Just got people settled in, and they have traveled a long way, and they could enjoy themselves and meet each other. The one thing that's really nice about all of our trips is these groups of people come together, and some people are single, some people are couples, some people are friends, father, son on this trip, and they get to meet a whole bunch of new people. And within just a couple days, they become really good friends. They spend a lot of time together, having their meals together, hiking together, telling stories around the dinner table and things like that. So after our briefing this morning, we're going to head out into Kathmandu, and we're going to do a cultural tour of Kathmandu. Upper right, you'll see the Bagmani River. That's a holy river with the Hinduism and Buddhism, but the Hinduism there, they're doing cremations. You can see the smoke in the air. They're doing cremations there. And it's a UNESCO World Heritage Site. It's an interesting place for us to go and learn about. Then we'll go lower right there. We'll go to the Monkey Temple, and that is another really nice site to see. I do like to take this cultural day so we have proper time to do our orientation briefing, take in a couple of the very popular sites here in Kathmandu, and then have a lunch together. After lunch, we'll come back to the Yak and Yeti and be able to do an individual gear check. And then tomorrow we'll fly in early. You can see a holy man here in this picture as well. After our lunch, we'll come back to the Yak and Yeti. This is a lunch spot that we stopped during the day. A lot of nice restaurants here in Kathmandu, great little spots, really good atmosphere, different places. And when we come back to the Yak and Yeti in the afternoon, people can relax. People could go wander around in Tamel, the area where we're going to have lunch. And at some point before dinner, I like to visit their room where they've laid out their gear, and I can just make sure hiking boots, rain gear's looking good. They've got warm enough layers for when we get further up the valley and things like that. So lower right, a really good example of a gear list. I had taken a picture of a guy that really spread it out, very organized. Upper right, a larger group where we're having our welcome dinner. And then on the left, one of the orientation briefings at the start. Tomorrow morning, we will get an early start. We're going to get up and have the breakfast set out like this in the lobby at 4:30 a.m. Water, boxed breakfast, coffee, tea. The bags then will be, the bellman will go to the room and retrieve the bags. We kind of do things. You can easily see on the green bag there, red ribbon. The red ones stay and the green ones go. You can leave a bag here at the Yak and Yeti, and with anything that you don't need on the trek. So you leave everything behind that you don't want to have up there in the valley, and then we'll head to the airport at 5 a.m. tomorrow. We are on the first flight into Lukla. So it's about a 30-minute flight on a Twin Otter fixed wing plane from Kathmandu up to Lukla, where we'll land at 9,000 feet. So here from Kathmandu, we're going to fly east into the lower area of the valley and then start our trek up to Mount Everest, which is on the border of Nepal and China. So here's a little bit of a map as we go. The idea here is that we go from Lukla at 9,000 to Phoc Ding, spend the night in Phoc Ding or Monjo the first night. Then we go to Namche Bazaar. We spend 2 nights in Namche Bazaar at 11,500 feet. We'll do a cultural tour around Namche on our acclimation day, the second day, kind of a rest day, acclimatizing day. It's important to trek slowly and make sure that you acclimatize to the higher altitudes. So in this photo, you see that we do go by a number of Buddhist sites, like this huge Mani rock here and a number of Mani stones on the trail, kind of always passing them on the left, always wishing well for our group as we pass by them. On the right upper side, you can see our group in their trekking gear about 4 or 5 days into the trek. Very comfortable conditions this time of year. You know, a little Gore-Tex shell, some long pants, good pair of hiking boots. It's all on our gear list and easy to get together, and we can consult you on that. All of our bags are transported on pack animals. This is a Himalayan yak, and we use a team of yaks to bring the duffel bag. So a North Face poly duffel bag there that people bring all their gear in. They're just going to carry a day pack during the day, and the yak's going to do the heavy lifting from village to village, and then they'll get their bag when they get to the next tea house. After the second day, we enter Sagamartha National Park, established in 1976. And we'll spend the majority of our time in the Sagamartha National Park. In the beginning, crossing a number of suspension bridges. They're very secure and stable, and people really enjoy going across them. I think it's a really something they see and have looked maybe on videos or that kind of thing, and it's exciting, or on movies. The suspension bridges are nice. This is the Dukosi River, the Milk River coming down, and the suspension bridge going across into the village of Phuoc Dinh, lower in the valley. A lot of lush vegetation, a lot of trees, and a typical tea house scene here that we would have if we stopped for tea, or maybe had lunch at one of the tea houses along the way. Kind of bench setups like this. For our meals, we're always going to order off the menu so guests can get whatever they like. There's a large variety. For lunchtime, so we're efficient for our stops, we do family style, so we'll order a bunch of big plates of food and guests can fix their plate as they like. And then for dinner time, again, the guests can order whatever they'd like off the menu. So here's a typical tea house. A lot of people ask and wonder what a tea house really is. It's one of these upper left building here. You see, that's a tea house. It's basically run a lot of times by a family. They're buildings that have a common area like the one that I just showed you. And then they have a room like lower right there with a couple of bunks in it. Very simple room where you can put your sleeping bag out. You don't need a sleeping pad or anything. You can just put your sleeping bag out and sleep and lock your stuff in your room. Lower right, there is one of the tea houses that's in Farache, that's at 14,200 feet. So, nice shelters all along the way. They do get a bit more rustic, obviously, and simple as we get further along, but they're very comfortable for us to spend the night. And then you can see in the upper right there, a variety of things that people can buy if they care to. One of the special things about being in Nepal is the culture. And we try to make a number of monastery visits. Here, one of our guests getting a special blessing from the Lama is going to tie that silk string around the neck and do what we call a puja ceremony, one of the mani stones on the left. And this is one of the extras, aside from trekking in the Himalayas, trekking amongst the mountains, is the culture, the villages, the people, the monastery visits that really make it fun. Here's me getting a special blessing by the Lama Geshe a few years back, and the Tangboche Monastery at about 12,000 feet there. Very old monastery that we go into and listen to the monks do their afternoon chants and their calls to prayer in the afternoon. This is a typical tea house scene. This is in Lobache, so this is about 16,000 feet. You can see we put out tablecloths, we bring our own condiments, we make sure that it is comfortable for our guests, and we spend the night here on the way up and again on the way down, and we're working our way into Mount Everest Base Camp. As we get higher in the valley, you can imagine that the vegetation, when the air gets thinner and it's a drier and dusty environment and it's harsher living conditions, there's less vegetation. There's not so many big lush trees. So this is elevation going from 14 to 16,000 feet on our trek. We're getting up in there, and we like to acclimatize slowly. Every day is different. What we do is we have a chart, and each day the guide will have a whiteboard and go over the mileage for the next day, what time breakfast is. We take the breakfast order, we put on the whiteboard how far they're going to ascend, how far they're going to descend, because the trail sometimes goes up and down, what the distance is, what the elevation we're going to finish at is. So each evening, right before the dinner meal, we're going to go over the plan for the next day, so the guests have a good idea. Maybe things are needing to adjust in their day pack. And that's something that's very important so people can prepare. Safety is also very important to us. I've worked with the Snowbird Ski Patrol now for 28 years as a first responder and a mountain rescuer. And it's very important to have a great plan and to keep your group safe as you go, but also be prepared in the event of an emergency. We do bring a Gamo bag, hyperbaric chamber, lower right. You see the red chamber. Somebody can get in that. We can pressurize that chamber and say, bring them from 14,000 feet, pump up the bag, and on an altimeter, they would be descending down to about the elevation of 7,000 feet. So it's a great tool to have, because if you have a problem in the mountains, the best thing to do is to descend. And we can help do that without actually moving somebody down, maybe stage them until we got a helicopter rescue or something like that. It's rare for us to happen. I've never actually put a guest in the Gamo bag. We do a demo every single time on our trip. But if you have a good plan and you monitor them regularly, you can avoid the accidents from happening. So that's why going with a good qualified outfitter is super important. And we like to be that good qualified outfitter. I'm doing a medical check on the right-hand side, taking the pulse oximeter. We will fill out a medical chart on every guest every day. It takes just a couple of minutes to do your pulse ox rating, take your temperature, check and see if you're taking your Diamox or not. Do you have a headache? How the body feels? Do you have any general aches and pains? Are you eating, sleeping, and going to the bathroom normally? And a lot of the times, there's just simple adjustments that can be made if there is something that's trending in a direction that's keeping a guest uncomfortable. So we want to make sure that they are comfortable as we get up higher. This is the valley in Farache, so the first large U-shaped valley. The toe of the Khumbu Glacier is just well up in the distance here, coming out right in here. And we'll work our way up the trail here and up into Lobuche. So from that valley, a lot of times we do spend 2 nights there. A lot of times our guests will do a scenic helicopter ride if they choose to. We can arrange that based on the weather we're encountering along the way. It's not something you have to pre-sign up for. It does help when there's 4 guests in the helicopter, so all the seats are full and not one person paying for the whole helicopter. And they go up and they fly over base camp and get that scenic view. We've got a great video on YouTube. If you put in scenic helicopter ride or helicopter Everest on our search bar or in the search bar for YouTube, it'll probably come right up. It's got a couple million views. And on our YouTube channel, Worldwide Trekking channel, we kind of point out all the high mountains, but it's a great ride and people love it. And we're making our way into Everest Base Camp, another tea house scene in the national park. Our high point is going to be Kalapatar, 18,500 feet, right in there. And this on the right-hand side, the guys are going up. You can see Pumori here in the background. On the right-hand side over here, this is the view from Kalapatar of Mount Everest, of Nuptse, of all the surrounding mountains. You can see Makalu, you can look down the valley, you see the Khumbu Glacier, you look down on base camp. It's just incredible. Lower right-hand, you see the village of Gorak Shep and the trail that's going up to Kalapatar up in here. So the following morning, we get up early and we make our way through the rubble scree into Mount Everest Base Camp. And we go into base camp. This time of year in May, we're going to see a lot more tents. We're actually going to have lunch at one of the Everest Base camps this time, because I have a friend up there that we're going to visit as well. In the fall season, less tents, but a lot of clear weather in the mountains. Doesn't really matter. Base camp is a great visit, but I think that people realize that the big part of this adventure is the entire journey. It's not just arriving at base camp, which is a highlight, and it is an amazing thing. Getting up Kalapatar is great, and seeing Mount Everest and all that is great. But it's really the day after day journey along the way as well. So we'll spend some time at base camp, a little over 17,000 feet there, take our photos and retreat back down to Lobuche for the night. From Lobuche, we work our way down to Farache, maybe on to Tangboche, and spend a few days making our way back out the valley. Our final night is in Lukla. And our final night in Lukla, we're going to spend at the Yeti Mountain Home, beautiful tea house there. And we're right close by the landing strip. So the following morning, we can go to the airport, and then we'll take that 30-minute flight back down the landing strip and land back in Kathmandu. We're usually there pretty early in the morning because we get early flights go in and out of Lukla all the time because the weather is nicer in the morning. So we go out around 6:30 and we're back in Kathmandu and we're at the Hyatt and it's like 8 o'clock in the morning. So guests that day are kind of free. We don't do lunch that day just because people want to kind of do different things and they've been on a really set schedule for the day. They can relax at the Hyatt pool. They could go to the spa. They could go to the Bodna Stupa, which is just behind the Hyatt. We're always going to have a van go into Tamel and take people out. They can get a shave and go shopping. There's a lot of great shopping here with things that they might want before they fly home the following day. The Bodna Stupa is the fourth cultural site that they probably haven't seen yet. It's right behind the Hyatt, so they can easily walk over to the Bodna Stupa. There's a lot of shops there. It's a very spiritual and holy place. So definitely a place that we want our guests to be able to go see. So they might go over to the Bodna Stupa and do some shopping over there. And a lot of times the group sticks together. You know, we've all become really close friends and they'll go do things together. And a lot of times they want to kind of go get that one thing they've been wanting to grab before they go home, like a mandala painting or a cashmere scarf or some trinkets for their friends back home, that kind of thing. So sometimes they scatter, sometimes they stick together. But in the end, what we do is we come back to the Hyatt and we have our final celebration dinner, which is a private dinner for our group. And we can reminisce about the journey that we took together. And it's just an amazing experience through and through. A lot of people have questions about training and getting ready for this kind of trip. And I think that what you know, we do have a training plan. We do have videos on kind of the way to approach your training. My suggestion is to make sure you get all the gear, make sure you get the boots, start working on those, you know, go for some hikes, go for some longer hikes on the weekend, start putting a little weight on your back, that kind of thing. Wear a little day pack, maybe on the treadmill, even with your hiking boots on, and you'll get ready. I think people are like a lot of the times under the impression right now it's May, like, oh boy, could I be ready to go on your trip October 7th? Of course, you have 6 months, even just in 6 weeks, you can get ready if you really are not in poor shape, like horrible shape. If you're in decent shape and you kind of step it up and you get the gear together and you start exercising a little bit more, in a few weeks, you'd be feeling great at our pace, acclimatizing our pace, walking each day, you should just be fine. You know, if you're in that age range, you know, we see people into their 70s, people as young as 9 and everywhere in between. And as long as you're in somewhat decent shape, you should be fine. We do send a trip detail. It's got all of the information on the day-to-day, on the accommodations, on the visa requirements, on everything. Once you sign up for a trip, we send you the trip detail. Our adventure specialists in the office are available for you to answer questions anytime, Monday through Friday. They're there 9 to 5 in Utah on Mountain Time. And you can call them, they'll set up a Zoom, they can set up a Zoom with me. We can go over all the questions that you might have individually. We deal with special diets, we deal with allergies, we deal with everything that you can imagine over years and years of bringing people on adventures around the world. One of the really important things to do is to look at our gear list and just bring each of the items that we ask you to bring on the gear list. Then you should be totally fine. If you have questions about the gear list or questions about the items on it, we can help you. We do sell, have parkas that people can buy and warm sleeping bags that people can buy right here in Kathmandu. And that way, those are expensive items and we can help save them some money buying it locally here in Nepal with something that's going to be very good for them to have for their trip. I have a number of YouTube videos on Worldwide Trekking's YouTube channel. Just put in Worldwide Trekking, will come right up. There's playlists there. They're broken down to the different destinations around the world and the different areas at those destinations. So I try to answer all of the questions and have a lot of videos, which I'll make this week again, from the trail. So that's really a nice way to go. You can see our group there on the lower left having a celebration dinner. Looking up upper left is Amida Blam and the memorial area that we stop at along the way, and we reminisce over our time at celebration dinner about our trek to Mount Everest Base Camp. Nepal is a special place. We've got a great team over here. Our Sherpa team is amazing. Our Western guides are great. And we put it all together and help bring people on what is going to be the adventure of their lifetime. And we do those all around the world. There's a lot of destinations to choose from, but if you've thought about coming to Mount Everest, we'd love to have you. It's May right now, May 1st, 2022. And I have a group here. We're heading in tomorrow, doing our tour today, and then heading into the valley tomorrow. And then in the fall, October 7th, we're going to run another trip. I have it mostly full. There's probably about 3 or 4 spots left on that trip. So if you are interested, reach out. October 16th trip is sold out to a special group, but then private group. And then we do May and October regularly again in 2023 and beyond. So you have any questions, please ask us, please contact us. We'd love to help you get on an Everest Base Camp trek. We'd love to get you over here in Nepal, or maybe a different adventure around the world. Maybe you start with Machu Picchu and then do Everest next time. If you haven't done adventure travel before, maybe you need to think about starting with one that's a little bit more moderate, like our European Alps trip, and then do one more strenuous like Everest or Kilimanjaro. We can help you decide. We'd love to hear from you. So contact us, and thanks again, and have a great day. Thanks for watching this video, and hope to see you on one of our journeys around the world.